We all know that if you want to eat well, you have to spend money. And some dishes, like Alma's caviar, can cost more than $40,000 per serving. But today, we're going to tell you about an even more expensive dish. And it's not the kind of food you would expect at all. In fact, this food has been around for centuries and is quite common in many Asian countries. But it costs even more than caviar. So, what is this mysterious food? And how did it become so expensive? Join us today as we look at century egg, one of the most expensive foods in the world. Century eggs are preserved duck, chicken, or sometimes even quail eggs. They have a dark green yolk and a jelly-like white, and are considered a delicacy in Chinese cuisine. You can find them in restaurants that specialize in traditional Chinese food, but you might also see them in fancier Japanese or Korean restaurants. But what makes century eggs so special, and why do they cost so much? The process of making century eggs is extremely complicated. It involves preserving the eggs for a very long time, often up to 100 years, hence the name century egg. The eggs are usually preserved in a mixture of clay, ash, saltpeter, and lime. This mixture creates an alkaline environment that prevents bacteria from growing and spoiling the egg. The eggs are then buried underground for several months, during which time they undergo a natural chemical reaction. This reaction causes the yolk and whites to turn green and the egg to take on a jelly-like texture. In addition to being labor-intensive, the process of making century eggs is also time-consuming. It can take up to 6 months for the eggs to be ready. And because they are so perishable, they can only be made in small batches. All of this means that century eggs are relatively rare and therefore expensive. Century eggs are said to have originated in China more than 1,500 years ago. There are a number of legends surrounding the origins of century eggs, but the most popular one tells the story of a Chinese emperor who was looking for a way to preserve eggs for longer periods of time. He experimented with different methods, but it wasn't until he buried a batch of eggs in the ground for several months that he came up with the idea of making century eggs. Another legend says that century eggs were actually invented by accident. A farmer was storing his eggs in a cave when he noticed that they had turned green and had a strange texture. He took the eggs out of the cave and gave them to the emperor to try. The emperor loved them so much that he made the dish a part of the imperial court. Whatever the true origin of century eggs may be, they have been enjoyed by Chinese emperors and scholars for centuries. During the Song dynasty, century eggs were seen as a symbol of wealth and power, and were often served at banquets and special occasions. They were also believed to have aphrodisiac properties, and were often given as gifts to young men who were getting married. But century eggs didn't just stay in China. They eventually spread to other parts of Asia, such as Japan and Korea. In Japan, century eggs are known as usigashi and are often used in traditional dishes like sushi and ramen. In Korea, century eggs are known as garenmari and are often served as an appetizer. Of course, century eggs haven't stayed the same over the centuries. Different cultures have different ways of making them and different ingredients. For example, in China, century eggs are often made with duck eggs, while in Japan, they are more likely to be made with chicken eggs. The ingredients used to preserve the eggs also vary from place to place. In general, though, the process of making century eggs remains the same. One thing that hasn't changed, however, is the price. Century eggs are still very expensive, and there are a number of reasons for this. First of all, they are still relatively rare. Even though they have been around for centuries, century eggs are still not as common as other types of preserved eggs, like pickled eggs. This means that there is still a limited supply of century eggs, which keeps their prices high. Secondly, the process of making century eggs is still labor-intensive and time-consuming. It takes a lot of work to make century eggs, and this is reflected in their price. Finally, the ingredients used to make century eggs are also expensive. The type of clay, ash, saltpeter, and lime that is used to preserve the eggs must be very pure, and this purity is reflected in the final product's price. The price of century eggs can vary depending on where you buy them and the quality of the eggs. In general, though, you can expect to pay upwards of $100 for a single serving of century eggs. This price can go up to several hundred or even thousands of dollars. For example, in 2017, a restaurant in Hong Kong sold a bowl of century eggs for $1,820. This was the most expensive bowl of noodles ever sold at an auction. So, what do century eggs actually taste like? Because they are so expensive, many people are curious about what century eggs taste like. Those who have tried them say that they have a unique flavor that is unlike any other egg dish. The yolk is said to taste like a strong cheese with some pharmaceutical notes. The whites are gelatinous and don't really have much of a distinct flavor. Many people compare the taste of century eggs to that of a stinky tofu. Some say that they remind them of eggnog, where grandma added just a little too much nutmeg. Others say that century eggs taste like chalk, soap, or dirty socks. Ultimately, though, the taste of century eggs is subjective and up to each individual person. It's clear that century eggs are a truly unique and special dish. They have a long history and a unique taste that is unlike any other. While they may not be everyone's cup of tea, there's no denying that century eggs are one of the most expensive foods in the world. If you're feeling adventurous, we say go ahead and give century eggs a try. You never know, you might just love them. What do you think of century eggs? Would you try them? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our other videos on the most expensive foods in the world. We've got videos on the most expensive meat, fruit, vegetable, and more. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on future videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. It's hard to imagine a dish being more disgusting than century eggs, but there is one. Stay tuned for more.